When I first heard that Lee Wynell was going to be writing and directing a new adaptation of The Wolfman for Universal Pictures, I was extremely excited because I had just recently saw The Invisible Man, which I thought was a very solid movie, and it was making me feeling pretty excited about this. The Invisible Man, like this new movie, is not going for that classic Universal monster look that you might be familiar with. These new movies are taking a far more grounded approach to what a monster would really be like. So you will not be seeing this in this movie. So you might as well get over that now. If you want to see that, there's nothing stopping you from going back and watching the old movies, but just check your expectations. This monster looks very different than what you're going to be familiar with. But the question remains, is this movie worth a trip to the cinema? Let's discuss. Wolfman, by the way, that is two separate words. This is not called The Wolfman, it's just Wolf and Man. Stars Julia Garner, Christopher Abbott, and tells the story of a family who was on their way to visit a cabin in rural Oregon when they come across something strange in the road. An unshaven man with bad hair, bad hygiene, bad teeth. He just looks like a hot mess, and they get into an accident because of this fool. And if you've seen the commercial, you know that this accident ends up resulting in somebody getting scratched, somebody getting an infection, and a family going through way more nonsense than they were really hoping for on this vacation. Okay, so that catches us up with the trailer and the premise. Now, let's dive in. Right off the bat, this movie greets you with an immersive score that pulls you right in with its deep bass notes and sets an instantly eerie tone for sure. The sound direction in this movie is stellar, but then again, it kind of had to be, right? I mean, that's the entire jam of horror movies. That's how you sell the scares and the tension. Good sound direction. And this movie definitely has that. From the earliest moments in the film, the director manages to make you feel a sense of unease. I had an idea what was going to be happening, but it still kept me glued to my seat and in a constant state of suspense. Sure, there are the occasional horror movie tropes like jump scares, but the freakiest part about this movie is the concept of this infection. And I really loved the way the story didn't drag after the moment the dad gets scratched. We get a little bit of time to breathe, but it's not long before we start noticing things with this guy are not looking good. I found myself feeling clever as I was watching this movie. I felt like I was getting an idea of what was going to be happening, which gives this movie some points because I don't usually feel clever very often, but it also does point out a possible issue, and that is that the movie can be slightly predictable. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the hell out of the way this movie builds up the tension you feel coming from the people on the screen. There is a palpable fear that sticks with you from the very first encounter with the creature to the very last frame of this movie. Christopher Abbott plays Blake. He's the husband to Charlotte and father to Ginger, and it's he who is infected in this movie and starts going through the changes that we are expecting him to. And I have to say, I think this guy really sold this transformation process so well. I really believed that he was becoming a werewolf, I guess you'd call it, or whatever they're going to call this creature by the end of the day. I believed it. It felt very authentic. Between his performance and some of these excellent visual effects, it really does feel like a more grounded and realistic take on a Wolfman story. Now, I said that this movie has excellent visual effects, and that's probably gonna rub some people the wrong way. The same crockety people that want their movies to stay the way they used to because they were better back in my day. For sure, the design of this monster in this movie is going to cause an uproar if it hasn't already. But I get what they were going for, and I think it works. For the most part, I thought this was a really solid movie. The performances were really good. I liked the tension, the eerie atmosphere. It was all just coming together really, really well. But for some reason, towards the last part of this movie, I started feeling an inescapable feeling of meh. And I can't quite pinpoint exactly what it is that bothered me, that made me feel this way, but I think it has to do with the fact that as well made as this movie is, and as much effort was put into creating this tension and all these great performances, it still just failed to wow me. By the end, I think this felt like a very good movie, but by no means a great one. And I would say not as entertaining or as memorable as Leigh Whannell's previous Universal monster effort, The Invisible Man. I think that was a better made movie overall. But this is still a solid effort, and if you are into creature features, then you probably are going to enjoy this movie. And I do think that it is worth seeing this movie in theaters. That soundscape, the way the bigger picture, it just really is better in a big screen cinema experience. So if you are into the creature movies and you're just bored and you're looking for something to do, then this is a solid movie to go check out for sure. And it's okay that this movie is not a 10, at least in my book. Not every movie needs to be a 10 to be worth spending money on. So with all that being said, for me, this movie is a 7 out of 10. I think it's worth seeing. I just wouldn't have extremely high expectations or expect to be wowed, but you might be different than me. So if you are, please put your thoughts on this movie in the comments. And if you liked this video, please hit the like button. And if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.